It's time for Talking Michigan Transportation, a podcast devoted to the conversations with people at the forefront of the ongoing mobility revolution. In the state that put the world on wheels, here's your host, MDOT Communications Director, Jeff Cranston.
So once again, this is the Talking Michigan Transportation podcast, our last podcast for 2020. I guess in some ways that's not so bad because it's a year for many reasons we might want to forget. But we're trying to focus on some of the good things that happened in spite of the pandemic and what MDOT was able to accomplish. So today I'm speaking with our director, Paul Ajegba, who's going to talk about some of those highlights and what we were able to do and across the state. So Director, thanks for taking time to do this.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about this kind of dovetails with a year-end video that our staff put together. Looking at projects throughout the state and some of our accomplishments. I think probably the biggest thing, obviously, is the first bonding project from the governor's $3.5 billion Rebuilding Michigan plan. We were able to get a section of 496, a really, as somebody who drove it often, I can say a really bad section of 496 replaced west of Lansing. Talk about that project that used to be your region. So how important was that?
Yes. Again, thanks for having me. It's been a very challenging but successful year. As you know, we started the year off talking about transportation funding. The State Transportation Commission approved the $3.5 billion bond, and we got off to a good start, got excited, and started working on how we're going to implement this challenge that is in front of us, and then COVID hit. But I will say that even with COVID, I cannot say enough about all the hard work that everybody at MDOT has done to adjust to this new way of doing things. And we got a lot of projects out there. The 496 one you mentioned was the very first one we financed with the bond money. It was almost, I think, roughly $50 million project. Rebuilding that stretch of 496 west of Lansing was, remarkable, getting that done in such a record time. I think we took advantage of the fact that traffic was down and got a lot of work done this year. One of the things I would also ask about the bonding is that, as you know, I testified in front of the House and Senate. Part of the conversation at that time, the skeptics were, well, you're going to push all this work out in a short period of time. You're going to have inflation and you don't have the labor and everything to get the work done. But we're not seeing that. The numbers are coming relatively close to engineers' estimate. And quite frankly, most of the ones we put out there so far, the numbers are below the engineers' estimate, which is good news. And also, part of that is the hard work of our designers and engineers putting things together. And I can't be more pleased with what we've done so far.
And you think that there's enough competition in the industry, and this has kind of stoked that competition, and that's helping to keep the bids down, right?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I think the level of competition is part of why our numbers have been relatively good.
So that was the first project that we were able to, finance with the bonding plan. Most of that money is going to go to projects that really begin, in earnest this coming spring throughout the state. What do you think about, what the future holds in terms of revenues and what we'll be doing with the program going into 2021?
Well, if you look at what the governor's done, this $3.5 billion couldn't have come at a better time. As I speak to my colleagues in other states, they are cutting projects because the revenue didn't come in as they projected, just like ours didn't. Because when the pandemic hit, as you know, the driving Michigan went way down.
It was down as much as 60% early on.
Exactly. We were rebounding around mid-May. By Memorial Day, things were beginning to go back up. But that 2-3 months gap, it's a lot of revenue that we did not generate. So having this $3.5 billion bond money has really helped us to kind of keep going. And you said, what do I see coming in the future? I did a TV show the other day, and I said 2021 and 2022 is going to be the highest money we've ever spent money on infrastructure in the state of Michigan. So I expect that for the next 5 years. But my hope is that before we get to the end of that 5 years, that the legislature would at least work with the governor to pass some kind of a funding package. This is a financing tool. It's bonding is not a permanent solution to a funding problem. So I'm hoping we will be able to address that as well.
Yeah, that conversation has to continue, and you're right. The bonding does maybe cloud that a little bit because we'll be able to make so many fixes, but it's not a long-term solution. So
Exactly.
that's got to be the conversation. Well, let's talk beyond the bonding projects. Some of the other things that you were able to celebrate toward the end of the year. A big one, two big ones on the west side of the state. The flip, the 196.96, you and the governor were there for that. That was not a bonding plan, but it fit very much with the theme of the Rebuilding Michigan plan, in that the idea was to do something and do it right so that we won't be back out there for a major fix for 40 or 50 years. And that's what that reconfiguring from a safety aspect, as somebody who lives in Grand Rapids can tell you, that that merge between 96 and 196 in the East Beltline was often awkward and precarious, and they've solved that, and they also got new pavement out of it, and you got to see that.
Yes, going out there doing the ribbon cutting on that project was very exciting. I think it was a well overdue project, and I will give the credit to the engineers in the Grand Region for coming up with that idea. You say for somebody who lives in Grand Rapids. For some of us who don't live in Grand Rapids but go in there from time to time for meetings and other things, we do experience that. I-96 and 196 coming together. That's a lot of confusion there. Congestion in the morning and AM peak hour and PM. So finally coming up with a workable solution for that whole interchange, I think great work, and ingenuity to put that together. So I'm really pleased with the work that the Grand Region did there. And the 100 over 131 is another great accomplishment in Grand.
The famous 100th Street Bridge, yes,
exactly.
had its own Facebook page.
As you know, that bridge been hit 13 times in the last 5 years. That's a lot of hit. To be able to get that bridge reconstructed that quickly and make it a multimodal infrastructure, I think it was a very good thing.
Yeah, the community is extremely excited about that. We had local legislators there. We had local business people there. Helen Zirup, a state transportation commissioner who owns a trucking firm that goes through that interchange, was very excited about it. And you're right, they were able to add lanes, create turning capacity, and it's going to help some of the businesses in southern Kent County and northern Allegan County. So it was cool. It was on the drawing board anyway, but the region found a way to shuffle some money and move it up to get it done. So yeah, that was an exciting one for 2020. Yes. I think some of the other ones talked about progress on the I-75 modernization in Oakland County, and you can talk about that a little bit. You're familiar with that from your work over there.
Yeah, that's a $238 million I-75 widening project. That is a project that's way overdue. As you know, it's a 3-segment of pieces. Segment 1 was done a few years ago. Segment 2 started last year, and we completed it this year. There's still some, finishing work to do, obviously, but by the time we finish the punch list item, it'll probably be early mid-spring next year. But to get all that work done in 2 years, it's a lot of work. You're rebuilding the Big Beaver interchange, 14 Mile Road interchange, and all that, and widening the whole I-75 corridor with all that traffic. It is a lot of work that got done in a very short period of time. Again, $230+ million project. I think I give a lot of credit to the Metro staff for all the hard work they put on. I drove through there, I think about a week or so ago, and I mean, it looks great. It's a good project.
Well, one of the things that our video highlights is in that component of the project is a really never done before in Michigan drainage tunnel that's going to be part of that. Can you talk about why that was necessary?
That's for segment 3. Obviously, we were having a lot of drainage issues out there, and being able to build that tunnel. If you haven't seen, Metro Region does a good job of putting out a newsletter about the project from time to time, and I always try to take some time and read it. That is, I mean, amazing project that they're building. That tunnel is about 100 foot below the surface, and it's just a great project.
And it's going to alleviate some chronic flooding that would happen and really tie up traffic on those lanes, right?
Exactly, and that's what I said. We put it an end there because of all the flooding we used to have on that corridor.
So speaking of flooding and other things, 2020, it counts as an accomplishment, although obviously we wish that, we had never had a 500-year flood. But you got to go to Midland County a few times, once with the governor when US 10 was restored, and then again to celebrate the opening of a section of M30 that was washed away and left a handful of homeowners, literally stranded, having to walk across the remnants of the river in order to get anywhere. So yeah, talk a little bit about that and how how the governor told you that we got to restore mobility up there, and you marshaled the forces to do that and get it done in a hurry.
Yes, as you said, this is something we wish had not happened, but it did. You had about 9 inches of rain in 3 days, 500-year flood. And it washed away some critical infrastructure out there, US 10 and M30. Bob Rank and Kim Zimmer and all the entire staff at Bay Region, for what they did out there to restore mobility to that community, I mean, it's amazing. But I also I took a step back and give the entire MDOT team a lot of credit, because you had Matt Chenoweth and his team jump out there, Region and Lansing working together to get that done. But I have to also take another step back. It goes back to MDOT putting an emergency response guideline together that, hey, we have a bridge hit. This is the template. This is the guidelines you use. Pull this off the shelf. Call 3-4 contractors, get them out there on site, then do a walkthrough, get bids, and get them going right away. So the Bay Region team, the first was to clear all the debris out there, right? Because homes and boats and all kinds of stuff was washed away. So they did that, clear all the debris. The next contract put out there was to have restoring this infrastructure. Pictures doesn't do it justice. You have to go out there and really see how bad this situation was. But to have Matt's team and Bob's team work together to restore mobility to that community in a very short period of time is amazing. The video, there's a couple in that video. I would encourage everybody to look at that video. They said they could not believe MDOT did this in this many, in such a short period of time, because they thought they were going to be shut in during the wintertime. And that was their fear. To hear your customers say that, I think it speaks volumes on what we have done to restore MDOT confidence in the community out there.
Well, yeah, and it showed the difference. Obviously, some projects require a great deal of planning, and there's an environmental process and a lot of things that you have to do, and that's why they take so long to get from drawing board to actual construction. But when there is an emergency like that, and you are able and have to respond, you can, and that's what that demonstrated. So
Exactly.
very good thing. So yeah, that's pretty much the big ones, I think, in terms of what we covered in the video. And I appreciate you taking some time to talk about that, and letting folks know how you prioritize these things and how it came to be. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of 2020 or looking ahead to 2021?
I think two notable mention will be the Cavenue project from downtown Detroit all the way to Ann Arbor. Everybody that was involved in that and putting all that together, seeing the governor's vision and Chairman Ford vision, say, let's dedicate a lane out here for CAV. The work to get that going, I can't describe it. All the behind the scenes work that went into putting all that together. I think it's something to be celebrated. And
yeah, you were able to join the governor and Mayor Duggan and Bill Ford and others to celebrate the completion of a contract on that back in August. And so you'd say now the hard work begins, but just getting that contract was pretty hard work. So it was definitely worth celebrating.
Exactly, because it's first of its kind in the world, not just in the United States. And to be able to get it to that point, it's an accomplishment in itself. And I think the other one is the Gordie Howe International Bridge. All the work that's gone into getting it to where we are now, where you start beginning to see piers off the ground on that project. It's amazing. A lot of property acquisition went on, clearing and utility relocation. I can go on and on about all the work that's been going on behind the scenes to get to this point. So it's a success story that needs to be celebrated.
So here's a question. Are you still going to be director when it opens?
I plan to be around.
Well, thanks, Director. I appreciate you taking time to do this.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's a wrap for this edition of Talking Michigan Transportation. Check out show notes and more by subscribing on Apple Podcasts.